Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. Brian, and I'm here to simply just answer your questions about leadership, conflict resolution, communication. Maybe you're a new supervisor and you want to understand or have questions about how you're going to fit in taking over a team. You're wondering possibly what to do to please your boss and relate to your team. Maybe you're a small business owner or CEO of a large business, and all you're hearing from all sides is negative news and the economy and this and grow and pivot, and you don't have an outlet. So I'm happy to be here this morning and just answer questions that come in. So my background, PhD in clinical psychology, worked with several large practices, have worked at several hospitals, have worked at 2 large psychology practices, and I spent many years working for National Seminars and Skill Path doing leadership, communication, conflict resolution seminars. And of course, now I'm branching out on my own. How can I help you overcome leadership challenges, management challenges, people issues? So my specialty is helping you lower stress and get to peak performance. I do that through a process called mental fitness. Your capacity to respond to life's challenges with a positive rather than negative mindset. The impact of going through mental fitness coaching and training is you can get to peak performance, how to be your best consistently, the best version of yourself. Now, the goal is play at a level of 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. Of course, sometimes we're going to be at level 7. How do you make whatever level you're at be the best you can be, no matter what that is, day to day, every day? How can you be better now than you were last week? Peace of mind and wellness. So how to make great decisions without the stress of saboteurs, our judge, our hypervigilance, our stickler, and how to have better relationships at work and at home. So that's my approach. My background has always been to develop others, whether it be from a mental health perspective or leadership perspective, how to take a step up. So happy to be here to answer your questions. I'm going to do this weekly every Friday morning. So we'll have a freewheeling discussion on whatever it is that comes to your mind. So with that, let's jump right in. First question comes from Paul in Pasadena. Paul says, I recently have been promoted to a leadership position. While I'm thrilled and happy, I could feel the tension with the people I used to work with day to day, and I'm wondering what might be the best way to approach that. So that is a great question, Paul. Thank you so much for participating and asking that question. So the first thing I would like to suggest, and you can share with how comfortable you might be, is I would schedule 2 things. One, a team meeting. I would ask your boss to pop in at some point in the middle of that meeting and just say that the boss has your back and there was a reason you were promoted and he fully expects the team to support you. That will be great. But to have the boss pop in after your meeting started and after you get the ball rolling can be very helpful. In that team meeting, talk about what's your leadership goal? How do you want to help the team? How do you want to help move things forward? What's your philosophy going to be? And then I would meet with each team member individually. And if you have a large team, I know that will take up time. However, it's going to eliminate a lot of roadblocks moving forward. So if you meet with each team member and you clarify, what do they want from you? What are their goals? How do they want to grow? And what is it they need from you on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis to be more effective in their job? And then the most important thing is for you, Paul, to clarify what their role is. What do you need from them? What do you want them to do to focus on moving forward? And so when you have clarity of what's your role, what's the role of the team member, and where's the team going, plus you already have your boss's backing, you're going to be able to move forward at a faster path and start building that cohesiveness. Remember, if you're new to leadership, there was a reason you were picked to take over. There was a reason you were brought in to energize. And so with that being said, that's my suggestion. I hope that is helpful to you. Next question comes from Amy in Colorado. Amy asks, how do you move a team through conflict when you've got negative people who are always gossiping and griping, and then positive people who are frustrated but don't know what to do with their coworkers or how to confront that? So, Amy, thank you. That is a fabulous question. So the first thing I like to say about conflict is almost like the flu. So if you don't take care of it, if you don't do things to intervene with it, it will spread among everybody and keep growing. So you want to nip conflict in the bud. So first thing I would do is have a meeting to talk about what are your goals and guidelines for resolving conflicts. If people have issues with other coworkers, with how things are being run, what their role is, meet with you individually or meet with the people who are in conflict. For you, Amy, as a leader, what you want to do is absolutely positively move forward with setting up guidelines and rules for communication, that you don't like gossip, that if somebody has a concern, they can text you, email you, set up a quick meeting to find out if something is true. And if you know there's gossip and rumors spreading around, have a team meeting and dispel that right away. Next, the conflicts about communication or people gossiping about each other, that's coming from insecurity. So set up a expectation that people will communicate about what the goal is. Pardon me. What's the goal? What's the mission and vision? And to let go of these interpersonal issues. My favorite thing to do is if I know people are gossiping or if 2 or 3 people have a conflict, is to bring those people in and confront the issue head on. And when I say confront, you can do it in a calm, professional manner. But usually what happens is as you're sitting with all 3 people who are in conflict, they may be reticent to bring up the issue. So talk about whatever the elephant in the room is, bring it up, and pick a path forward. Set the expectation of how we're going to work together, how we're going to communicate, and then move on from there. Now, there's 5 ways to resolve conflict. If it's crisis or emergency, you may want to dominate. If it's a short-term issue and you're brand new to leadership, you may want to placate by getting their input, even though you know the answer to resolve the conflict. Get the team members' input see if you agree with it, and let them try to come up with a solution on their own. And if you don't think that will work, you can make a prediction about what will happen. And then when your prediction comes true, you gain in respect and credibility. You can also collaborate. So you get each person's input, you give them your input, and we come to a win-win scenario. A short-term solution is compromise. Remember, compromise is a short-term solution, doesn't resolve the issue. So this is going to pop up again. But if you're limited in time, let's come up with a short-term compromise solution and then revisit it so that we get to collaborate and pick the path forward where it's win-win for each person and you as a leader. Now, it's not going to be 100%, but we can move forward from there. So dominate, collaborate, compromise, placate. Rare instance, you may want to withdraw and kind of hold your team members to the fire and have them come up with a solution. But you only want to do that once in a while. So I hope that, again, solves or helps you have a path forward. Other questions coming in. Thank you very much for your questions. Jane from Sacramento asks, I've been an existing leader, and because of some cutbacks, people are doing more jobs than they're used to, and everybody is griping about it. And especially with summer coming up, people are feeling overworked and then will have a lot on their plate when they leave for vacation or come back from that vacation. And all I'm hearing from team members is a bunch of negativity. Great question. So building optimism and morale. So I would meet with the whole team and re-clarify everybody's role. What are we here for? What are we doing? You understand as team leader that people are being overworked and that you're shorthanded. So how can we all work cohesively together, working towards the same path? How are we moving forward together? How are we getting to our end goals as a team? And understand that there's stresses and strains. And then I would build in some breaks in there or some team activities where we can literally laugh together, vent together, and then get back to what our role and goals are. So I'm convinced when the team knows that you're aware of what's going on, you understand their frustrations, and that you're there to help pick up the ball and help them move through the overwork process or juggling so many balls at the same time, with you there to help them be as effective as they can be. Remember to remind people of their strengths, why they're there. Remember what they like about being on the team, being at the company, and where we're going together. People need to be reminded of that. It's too easy to give in to all the negative, news, all the negative noise. Refocus. Why are we here? What are we great at? How do we engage? How do we get to what we're excellent at? So that's where you really want to re-energize, reinvigorate, and come to the conversation with empathy. You understand where everybody's coming from. You yourself might be feeling the stresses and strains of things. So how can we together work through and keep moving forward? And then, of course, it might be a great idea for you as a leader to get with your boss, make him or her aware of what the team struggles are, and see if your boss has some tips to help with that. Next question comes in. This is from Tom in Austin, Texas. So Tom asks, do I really have to review people's job role, shouldn't they know what they're doing? Wow, that's one of my favorite questions. Are you clear on what you should be doing in the workplace? So, Tom, my first question is, has anything changed in the business over the past 3 months, over the past 6 months, over the past year? My bet is, of course, yes, things have changed. And so, what I would like to remind you as a leader is it's your job to make sure people are clear on what they're supposed to be doing. And so, what I'd like to encourage all of you in leadership to do is ask your team members what's their role? What are their responsibilities? What should they be focusing on? What are the priorities? Because I bet the job description's 5 or 10 years old and hasn't been revised to the current conditions about what's going on in your workplace. And I like to do this as a reminder, no matter what business you're in. You can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be working at a hospital, you can be working at a tire shop. What's the goal? Where are we going? Where are we headed? How are we working together? What do we need to be together to focus on where we're going and where we're headed? And remember, if you're in an establishment that deals with the public, people will come to your workplace and they can feel the energy of your team. Is it cohesive? Is there conflict? Are you not getting along? So these are really important team issues. Is if you are an organization that deals with the public, what's the energy when people come into your lobby area? What's the energy from the person greeting people? How comfortable are you making them? Are they confident this is the best mechanic shop, tire shop, car repair service place I can be? Because there are lots of options. So is this the best insurance office? Is this the best plan? So what makes your business unique and different? What do you want to strive to be to serve people? So just re-clarifying what we're here for and what our role is, energizing, engaging. Remember, the more clarity people have on what they're supposed to be doing, the easier their job becomes. The easier their job becomes, the easier it is in leadership to tap into your team's strengths and get people working to really focus on what is their role and how to get enjoyment out of that. And when we're all enjoying things, it's easier to deal with the outside noise. So let's just stop for a moment. I'd like to encourage all of you to go to positiveintelligence.com, positiveintelligence.com, go to the Saboteur tab and take the free Saboteur assessment. So the saboteurs are emotional adversaries that we all have in our mind. They're the critical inner voice that undermine confidence, creativity, and resilience. So the universal saboteur is the judge. The judge might be saying to you, why are you listening to Dr. Brian now? Why aren't you doing something else? Remember, your saboteurs want you to stay the same. So these saboteurs are ingrained thinking and behavior patterns that limit you getting to peak potential. So what this saboteur quiz will help you recognize the difference in you. So the saboteurs are multiple. So the judge is the overriding one. Some of you might have a high score in the avoider, the controller, the hyperachiever, the hyper-rational, the hyper-vigilant, pleaser mode, restless mode, stickler, victim. So what mental fitness and positive intelligence do is to help you strengthen self-command muscles. So to help you reduce the impact of these negative saboteurs and be more effective. So I invite you to take that quick quiz. It is free. And then you can schedule a call with me. Let's go over what the results are and how they may be negatively impacting your communication, your ability to get to peace of mind, peak performance, and better relationships. And with mental fitness training, it's only 6 weeks, 4 times a day for 2 minutes. You meet with me in a small group once a week for an hour, and you will notice differences in how you're performing, communicating, and dealing with stressors within the first week, guaranteed. So go ahead and go to positiveintelligence.com, take the free saboteur quiz. You get the results, not me. And then drop me an email, info@drbrianspeaks.com, or message me on LinkedIn and Facebook. And let's just schedule a quick call to go over your results. Next question is, what do I do? This is from Sharon in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So thank you for joining us this morning, Sharon, and or me, not really us. So Sharon asks, what do I do to get people to stop with day-to-day griping and just focus on their jobs? Well, that's a great question, Sharon. So my first question is, what are the gripes about? Don't ignore the elephant in the room. I would meet with the team and make it a team activity. Have everybody list all their gripes, complaints up on the wall, and then have them come up with solutions. And then add your input to move forward. If you ignore the griping, it's just going to grow. So I would do that as a team activity. Pardon me. I would do that as a team activity and do that as a individual meeting with team members. Meet head on. If you handle the gripes, if you just listen and provide some quick solutions, and then as a team, they come up with solutions, you're going to watch energy, motivation, and performance take off. When we ignore conflict, when we ignore gripes, when we ignore gossip, it spreads like a virus through the team. So you can do the opposite. You can absolutely positively focus on handling the gripes, coming up with solutions, and then moving forward. And when the team is involved in the decision-making process, motivation occurs, growth occurs, productivity happens. And so without knowing the specifics, Sharon, I would say the absolute most important thing to do is to focus on how to handle those gripes head on. Because it may be people complaining just to complain. It may be they have a real issue and concern. And remember, what happens to a group of people when there's negativity that goes unchecked? Fear, anxiety, insecurity, and lack of faith in leadership take over. So just meet that head on. And for you, the most important thing, Sharon, is how do you come to that meeting with a positive attitude? So if you remain positive on how you're going to handle these challenges, well, then absolutely the team will be more engaged and have more belief. Next question comes from Adam in Detroit, Michigan. Adam, thank you for joining me this morning. Adam asks, what's my role as a leader? How often do I have to check in with people? Great question, Adam. So I would do two things. One, I would get clarity from your boss. What's their vision of how they want you to operate? But in terms of how you want to, how often you need to engage, I think there's a lot of variability there. So how often does each person or the team need clarity on where we're going and where we're headed? Are people clear on their day-to-day responsibilities? So I don't encourage micromanagement, but at first, if you meet with everybody, then meet with the team, get clarity on what's supposed to be going on, and then frequent check-ins in the beginning, maybe your first few months as a new leader, or if you've got a new team, I like to check in often, not to micromanage, not to hover, but to make sure people are clear on what they're doing, where they're going, and do they need input from me. And then if you are on top of it at first and you're intricately involved, you'll be able to let go of that control and meet less often. And what you want to do is get to self-sufficiency. You want to get the team on autopilot so that you can be the leader and focus on high level issues and how the team can grow and new challenges and new ways to inspire and motivate, and then get with your boss to help everybody and yourself. How do you take a step up? What more can you be involved in for business growth activities? And so I'd really like you to focus on that aspect of things. But my belief is that you want to focus in and challenge people, let them know how involved you are, let them get clarity on where they're going and where they're headed. And then as time goes on, after a few weeks of that, you can let go as needed. You'll know the people who need frequent check-ins. That's the secret of leadership, is you need to be able to tap into who needs the frequent pat on the back, who needs a little bit of, at first, maybe micromanagement before they become more independent. Who are the people that you can just literally tell them in person, send an email, and off they go. So that's the biggest challenge in leadership, is how can you be all things to the different personality styles in the workplace? How can you be effective with multiple generations? And so learning how to communicate in that way is, I believe, the fun part of leadership, but that's because I'm coaching and training in that area. So drop me an email and we can talk about more specifics about how I can help you best meet those challenges. So again, just a reminder, my background, clinical psychology, helping people stop self-sabotage, helping people not underachieve, how to tap into your potential. And I do that through the process of mental fitness. So again, in 6 weeks, you can learn how to get to peak performance, peace of mind, healthy relationships, and not give in to saboteurs, being hypervigilant, being the controller. Sorry for the noise. Give in to the judge, right? So our saboteurs impact our ability for clarity in communication, clarity in focus. Let's talk about, so the judge is our overriding critic. Many leaders, business owners, have a very high score in controller. You want things to go your way. You want things done your specific way. And maybe it's very hard to let go of that control and delegate. Learning how to delegate and let go is a critical leadership skill. And letting go of that controller. Now use the controller's strengths: clarity in communication, clarity in job role, clarity in how you'd like things to be done and following your process, but tapping into your team members' strengths. Remember, you can't do everything. You cannot do everything. And so it's really, really important to focus on tapping into your team's strengths and you letting go of that controller saboteur. So my role is, how do I help you be your best with your strengths, lower those emotional saboteurs that we all have, and raising your level of performance through clear communication, clear decision making, using empathy, innovation, creativity to make better decisions. All right. We have about 15 minutes left in our session this morning. So keep those questions firing in. Really appreciate all of you that can attend. Again, we're going to do this weekly, every week, 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. Next question comes from David in San Diego, California. David says, I work in sales. All of my team members love being independent, almost free agents and doing things their way. And of course, I have the mixture of high performers and not so high performers. What's the best way to get people to be on the same page? Great question. So sales. I find salespeople are almost like mental health professionals. We love our independent thinking. We love our own strengths and dynamism. And sales, it's easy to see who's great and who needs some help. So my question for you is, how connected do people feel as a team? So are people aware of this isn't free agency? You are working for a team, you are working for a company, you have a product to sell. So even with the high performers, what are the goals? Yes, high numbers. How can the high performers help out some of the people who are not quite at that level? You as a sales team leader, how do you help the people who are not quite getting it to overcome fear, anxiety, and tension? So I like to say sales is a numbers game. Some will, some won't. Move on. Don't take the no's personally. Coach people on how to make the calls, how to get appointments, crafting emails and videos that reach people coming from your own area of strength, your own area of expertise. But as a team, where are we going and where are we headed? How are we connected? So I would say maybe monthly, we go through having everybody together, whether it's remotely or in person. What are the high performers doing that works? What are the people who are not quite reaching their numbers? What do they need to get over the hump? How can you help them just be 1% better? It's really hard when you're not making your number to go from 0 to 100. If we go from 0 to 10, that's a huge increase. So just getting the ball rolling. I would say let's get people on the same page, remind people of where we're going and where we're headed, and get everybody working together. We're not solo practitioners working independently from each other. And so it's easy in sales for all of us to drift and just focus on the high achievers. So the hardest thing in sales is get the people who aren't quite getting it to, I think, get different inputs, assign them a mentor, change that mentor maybe once a month, find someone that can help them tap into it and watch how they grow, and maybe learn from you what's the best way to tap into that person's strengths to overcome their fear. And remember, in sales, it's really important to teach people, don't worry about taking this personally. Worry about, am I using the script I have? Am I being most effective? Do I believe in the product? Do I believe in our company? What do we have to offer that's different than everybody else? So let's focus on those aspects. I try to get sales teams to stay connected, yet let the people who are doing well not necessarily micromanage. I want them to focus on what their strengths are. But remember, we are a team. We are a business. We are a company. All right, next question comes from Debbie. She is a registered nurse in Palm Desert, California. That's 45 minutes away, Debbie, and I thank you for being a nurse. Certainly a much needed skill set and profession. And Debbie's question is, we have a new set of doctors in our office, and they're implementing lots of new procedures without giving us much rationale. They just want things being done in the office differently. How do I get on the same page with my boss, and how do I get the team on board? Great question, Debbie. So I love that, you're in nursing, almost the same as a business that has multiple departments. So healthcare, lots of challenges these days. So if the bosses are open to it, I would ask, can we have a team meeting to have them explain why are they making these changes? What's the goal of these changes? And how can they help you implement those changes? Next, the doctors come in, they like things done a certain way. You can certainly meet with them, ask questions, get your concerns addressed, hopefully. And then I would have those doctors meet with everybody and just explain the vision. Where are we going and where are we headed? Why are we implementing these changes? Now, in nursing, in medical, we're all used to doing things a certain way. And when there's change, fear, anxiety, and tension, oh, my way works. Why are we changing? This is really important. So we need to go along with what the bosses want. Hopefully they allow you to have some input, but then get the bosses to explain the vision. And then I would meet with your staff, say, how can we best implement these things? How can we work together? Because our goal is great patient care and talking to and meeting with the bosses to meet their goals, right? We all need to be on the same trajectory, rowing in the same direction. And boy, in medical care, that's critical. You want your patients coming in feeling comfortable. You want great patient care, and we need everybody on the same page. So explain, why are the changes happening and how can we tap into each person's talents to meet the new way of doing things, whatever that might be. So again, some of this might be repetitive, and it almost doesn't matter what type of business you're in. So this morning, what I'm hearing from people and the questions that are coming in, let's get clarity on job role, team roles, and how we all fit in together. Let's get clarity on what our bosses want. What do you want as a leader? Where are you going? And how you can get your team members on board. So I highly encourage communication meetings. So meet with your bosses, get with your team, meet with people individually, address head on what their concerns and fears are. And when you do that, you will alleviate a lot of tension and anxiety. And the more clarity people have on their role, the more clarity they understand that you're there to be their support and will help them through these struggles, the better off everybody will be. That's how you build cohesion. We want to lower conflict and increase commitment. And the more communication you have, the more clarity, the easier leadership is. Now, I know you're busy. And a lot of times they, well, I don't have time. And so my question is, do you have time to have corrective meetings? Do you have time to redo projects? Do you have time to do do-overs? If you do, you can eliminate that by having clarification meetings, by getting people focused on where we're going and where we're headed and what should we be doing. And it can be simple, can be difficult. Sometimes when we're hyper-focused on speed and productivity, we forget the little things. So my nephew the other day went to a well-known establishment that does oil changes. And as he was driving out, he noticed, just looking in the rearview mirror, there was a dark stain behind the car as he was driving. Clearly, the person forgot to put the oil cap back on under the car. So simple things paired together can lead to catastrophe. So make sure people are clear. We want it done well, we want it done right, and we want it done right the first time. And the way we get there is clarity in role, clarity in communication, practice, and you as a leader coaching, training, and teaching. So that is today's message. I'm crystal clear. The more clarity you have on everybody's role, what each person's responsibilities are, what the overall team collective vision is, how that fits in the organization's mission, how that fits with your boss's vision and role that they want you to fulfill, will make your leadership easier, fun, energizing, and enjoyable. So thank you for joining me this morning. Really appreciate everybody's questions, comments, and feedback. Again, drop me an email, info@drbrianspeaks.com. Happy to answer more leadership questions. And we will see you next week, 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you for joining me. Have an excellent and exceptional rest of the day and a wonderful weekend. Appreciate everybody's input and time.